Here are the top stories for today, October 22, 2020. The Land Transportation Office extends the validity of driver's license. Meanwhile, PAG-IBIG also offers payment relief on home loan. The Department of Justice looks into the agreement between Philhealth and Red Cross. And the referee in PBA bubble falls positive for COVID-19. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story for today, the Land Transportation Office extends validity of student driver's permit, driver's license, and conductor's license until December 31. LTO also extends registration period for certain vehicles.
Na-extend po ng Land Transportation Office ang student permit, driver's license, conductor's license ng mga authorized persons outside of residence or APORs. Matatandaan na ayon sa IATF Resolution number 79 na inaprubahan noong Oktubre 15 na pwede nang lumabas ang nasa edad 15 pataas hanggang 65 anyos. Kaugnay nito, nag-issue ng LTO ng mga rules sa application ng student driver permit or driver's license. Conductor's license na nag-expire noong mga panahon na hindi sila pinapayagang lumabas. Una, walang penalty sa pag-a-apply ng renewal ng driver's license at conductor's license na nag-expire nung panahong mayroong restriction. Pangalawa, dahil sa inaasahang pagdagsa ng mga aplikante, ang validity ng student permit, driver's license at conductor's license na nag-expire nung panahon na mayroong restriction ay na-extend po hanggang December 31, 2020. Pangatlo, ang registration ng mga sasakyan na may plate number na nagtatapos sa 6, 7 at 8 ay extended hanggang 31 October 2020. Samantala, ang mga plate number na nagtatapos ng 9 at 0 ay extended hanggang ika-31 ng Disyembre 2020. Pang-apat, ang mga rules na ito ay para lamang sa mga edad 17 hanggang 21 at mga 60 hanggang 65 anyos kung saan nag-expire ang kanilang mga lisensya nung panahon sila ay dapat na nasa bahay lamang.
Meanwhile, PAG-IBIG also offers payment relief on home loan.
Magandang balita naman po sa mga miyembro ng PAG-IBIG, mayroong inalok na Social Housing Loan Restructuring Program ang PAG-IBIG sa kanilang mga miyembro. May 6 na buwan na payment relief na ibinigay kung saan ang pagbabayad ng restructured loans ay magre-resume sa March 2020. 1. March 2021.
Meanwhile, all public and private cemeteries are closed from October 29 to November 4. Roque urges the public to visit but observe 30% venue capacity restrictions.
Bilang pag-alala sa mga mahal na yumao sa nalalapit na undas ay inuulit namin na lahat ng mga sementeryo, memorial parks, columbarium sa buong bansa ay isasara sa mga bisita mula October 29 hanggang November 4, 2020. Kaya kung may pagkakataon kayo ngayon bago mag-29 ay dumalaw na po kayo. Pero papaalalahanan po natin na pagdalaw nyo sa mga semeteryo at mga crematoriums at columbariums, kinakailangan magsuot ng face mask at face shield at merong social distancing. Pinapayagan din po ang 30% ng venue capacity.
The Department of Justice is reviewing the Memorandum of Agreement by and between Philhealth and Red Cross on the conduct of COVID-19 testing. Among those being tested by Red Cross are returning overseas Filipino workers, those arriving in airports and seaports, those in mega swabbing facilities, and frontline health and government workers. The Philippine Red Cross stopped conducting tests last week as the Philhealth's accumulated debt amounted to 931 million pesos. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said Philhealth President and Chief Executive Officer Dante Gueran requested for the review of the Red Cross MOA as his team found questionable items in the existing deal. Guevara said the DOJ will submit their observations within the week. Hotels in areas under general community quarantine and modified GCQ may soon open at full operational capacity. This after the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases gave the go signal to the Tourism Department to determine the allowable operational capacity of up to 100% for hotels, including those catering for staycationers. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat said the decision will be subject to the hotel management's decision and compliance with the safety guidelines. The Department of Tourism is expected to issue the amended guidelines for the expanded operational capacity of hotels, including staycation hotels. Travel agencies are asking concerned airlines to give full refunds for canceled flights since March, when travel restrictions were imposed as a response to the COVID-19 outbreak. According to the Philippine Travel Agencies Association, or PTAA, their estimated pending refunds as of September 2020 amount to more than 315 million pesos. PTAA President Richie Tuaño, meanwhile, is appealing to ticket holders who have yet to receive their refund for understanding. Tuaño also said travel agencies adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic can probably access the financial assistance and soft loans provided in Bayanihan 2. In Bicol, plans are being ironed out in case different tourism sites are reopened to domestic travelers. The Department of Tourism says the opening of over 100 tourism sites in Bicol would depend on the outcome of a tourism stakeholders meeting set next week. According to DOT Region 5 Officer in Charge Fe Buella, some LGUs are amenable to reopen their tourism sites on conditions that travel and health protocols are strictly enforced. She said the department is working out plans on gradually resuming travel and tour activities on a pilot basis in the region. Camarines Sur, for one, has already agreed to open their tourism destination. Buella said the DOT will also be consulting the Bicol Regional Tourism Council in drawing up tourism events and safety nets to recover the multi-million pesos of revenue losses due to the pandemic. Following the success of the Emergency Operations Center concept in Cebu City, Presidential Assistant for the Visayas Secretary Michael Lloyd Dino is pushing for the adoption of the same strategy in various localities in the region. Dino said their office partners with the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases in extending technical assistance to the local government units in the Visayas. He said the adoption of the Emergency Operations Center, or EOC, will help LGUs better align their efforts in addressing the possible surge of COVID-19 cases. Dino requested IATF Visayas Chief Implementer Melquiades Feliciano to share the EOC concept with the LGUs in Western Visayas. Feliciano was the one who established the EOC in Cebu City and also wants it to be replicated in other LGUs in the province of Cebu. In Catanduanes, 50 newly hired contact tracers have been deployed to help in the continuous fight against the coronavirus disease 2019. Municipal Administrator Elquisa Pastor said the strong and highly motivated young men and women are not just contact tracers, but also their partners in achieving zero COVID-19 case goal. These contact tracers were grouped according to their area of competencies. The computer graduates were clustered as multimedia designers and data encoders. Those with health and education background were assigned as community criers and mobilizers, tasked to distribute flyers and conduct information education campaigns. Criminology graduates were assigned as interviewers of identified contacts of positive and suspects, while the rest were assigned in quarantine facilities and will also monitor those who are undergoing home quarantine. To fast-track the rollout of telecommunications poles and cables, especially in remote areas, the Department of Information and Communications Technology and the National Telecommunications Commission are asking for changes to the right-of-way rules. The DICT and the NTC urge the Department of Public Works and Highways to look into amending its Department Order 73, which prohibits the installation of posts, cables, and similar infrastructure along all national roads. They say the order results in difficulties for public telecommunication entities as they proceed with the implementation of their rollout plans. The recently established Telecommunications Monitoring Group, or TMG, also proposed amendments to the order. The DPWH held various technical working group meetings regarding the issue. Still to come, more Chinese POGO workers in Subic are expected to leave soon. And government employees are reminded anew against corruption. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP, at ng himpilang ito.
The Department of Health said that about 3.6 million Filipinos experienced some mental health issues amid the raging pandemic. Many people are said to develop a fear of contracting COVID-19, while others are anxious over work issues. Let's find out how other people cope with the so-called quarantine fatigue.
Di naman, may pagka-boring lang, konti. May pagka-boring lang po. Mga ganon, yung syempre namimiss mo yung mga ginagawa mo dati na yung maluwag, tapos yung syempre trabaho mo wala, di ba? Hindi ka makapaghanap buhay ng maayos. Yun ang namimiss mo talaga.
Siyempre natakot din, baka mamaya isa rin tayo mahawaan dyan. Pero kahit pa paano, wala naman naramdaman kami. Kaso ano lang talaga, lumalabas kami dahil siyempre paghanap buhay namin nasa lansangan. Kaso kunting ingat lang talaga. Kahit inaano na nga pinapalabas na ang mga tao, kailangan kunting ingat pa rin tayo. Kaya mahirap na magkasakit.
Medyo lang kasi hindi ako nakauwi, yun lang naman. Siyempre naging busy kasi teacher din ako, marami akong ginagawa para sa mga bata.
Actually, oo. Kasi di ba, like, siguro nangyayari to kasi sa kapabayaan din natin. Yun nga sabi nila, kailangan mag-pray tayo kasi parang binibigyan tayong lesson ni God. So yun yung parang namuni-muni ko na tama nga. Siguro ginawa tong way para like sa family magkaisa. Kasi yung iba like mga kabataan, hindi sila nakikinig na sa magulang nila. Kahit madaling araw, nasa labas. So itong time na to para yung magkasama-sama kayo. Then yung ibang magulang na wala ding time, puro trabaho-trabaho, nagiging more time sila sa anak nila.
Yun, talaga yung pagkainip talaga, number one yun. Kasi hindi makalabas ng bahay, lagi nasa loob lang. Kaya mga anak ko nga, talagang, kaso pinagbabawal ako sila lumabas. Kasi ako, lagi ako nasa labas. Kasi nagbabantay nga kami sa mga ano. Kaya lagi na sila sa loob ng bahay. Pag uwi ko ngayon, hindi ako dumidiretso ko sa loob ng bahay. Inuubad ko muna yung mga damit ko dito sa labas bago ako pumasok ng bahay.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines will be foregoing the traditional Christmas parties this year in consideration of all Filipinos severely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. AFP Chief of Staff General Gilbert Gapay issued the order to all unit commanders and chiefs of offices throughout the country. Military spokesperson Edgar Arevalo said deferring Christmas parties and similar celebrations is an austerity measure and a gesture of sensitivity to commiserate with the people who have sworn to secure and serve. The ban also conforms to the health protocols that prescribes mass gatherings. Instead, the units will allocate the money intended for Christmas revelries to be merged into the funds assigned to address COVID-19 requirements of their personnel. The Chinese embassy in Manila on Wednesday said the construction of the Pantalion Bridge is expected to be completed in the early half of 2021. Once completed, the 506-meter bridge would have 4 lanes connecting Estrella, Makati City to Barangka Drive in Mandaluyong City. It is seen to accommodate an average of 50,000 vehicles daily. The embassy emphasized that the construction of the bridge is financed by a grant from the government of China. Citing Public Works and Highways Chief Mark Villar, it added that only 25% of the project's workers are Chinese nationals, while 75% are Filipinos. The clarification comes after some lawmakers questioned the number of Chinese nationals employed for the Pantalion Bridge and the Binondo Intramuros Bridge construction projects. The embassy said the Chinese employees are mostly program managers, engineers, and technicians whose job could not be done by Filipino workers given the technical requirements. The Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, or SBMA, announced a further drop in the number of Chinese workers, particularly those in the Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGO, industry. According to the SBMA Business Group, about 85% of the Chinese workers hired by POGO firms in Subic have been retrenched since March, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the global economy hard. One of the Subic's 4 POGO operators, the Great Empire Gaming and Amusement Corporation, has closed shop in June after losing 106 million pesos. The remaining 3 POGO companies likewise reported cutbacks in employment. SBMA Chair Wilma Isma revealed this situation after public officials noted that over 27,000 foreigners from mainland China had availed of the special resident retirees visa in the Philippines. Senator Richard Gordon pointed out the number of these supposed young Chinese retirees in the country, saying the situation is dangerous for national security. The Department of Justice says low pay should not serve as excuse to justify corruption. This as calls for a review of the salary grades of the Bureau of Immigration arise amid allegations of corruption in the agency. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara on Wednesday acknowledged that a review of the decades-old salary grades in the BI is overdue. He said the BI modernization bill is one of the priority measures of the Duterte administration. Guevara made the statement following reports of widespread bribery that allowed the entry of almost 28,000 young Chinese as retirees in the country. He said the supposed 40 billion pesos earned from illegal protection scheme was extrapolated on the basis of the testimony of certain witnesses. Meantime, Guevara said it should be the Philippine Retirement Authority which has jurisdiction over the visas of would-be retirees and that the BI has no say in granting them. In our business news, Google Philippines now allows micro, small, and medium enterprises to list their products on the Google Shopping tab for free. Google Philippines Country Director Bernadette Macario said this is part of Google's initiatives to help Filipino businesses bounce back amid the COVID-19 pandemic. With the free product listing on the Google Shopping tab, Filipino merchants can get more exposure for their products. It also means that there will be more choices of stores for shoppers. Google Philippines has also committed to continue the MSME Caravan partnership with the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI. To date, over 14,000 business owners have participated in the MSME Caravan. Google Philippines also bared that it has partnered with the Department of Tourism to support the recovery of local tourism. Up next, The health department intensifies its campaign against vaccine-preventable diseases, and referee in PBA bubble falls positive for COVID-19. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
A health official urged parents to have their children vaccinated against illnesses that can be prevented by vaccines such as measles, polio, and rubella. Health Promotion Bureau Director Dr. Beverly Ho warned that an outbreak of vaccine-preventable diseases is still possible next year. Ho said the Department of Health is not seeing a rise in cases this year due to the practice of minimum health standards such as proper hand washing. Ho also announced that the DOH will launch an immunization drive from October 26 to November 25 in the Bicol region, Cagayan Valley, Cordilleras, Ilocos region, Mimaropa, and Mindanao. On February 1 to 28, 2021, the DOH will also launch the same campaign in Metro Manila, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, and Visayas. Israel's Agency for International Development Cooperation, or MASHAB, through the Embassy of Israel in the Philippines, built a hand-washing facility at the Makati High School to support the Brigada Escuela of the Department of Education. Ambassador to the Philippines, Rafael Harpas, said they decided to build this facility because Israel values health and education. He said students and faculty members can use this to wash their hands once the schools reopen. Israel also recently donated printing equipment to the DepEd to help Filipino students go through distance learning amid the pandemic. It also donated personal protective equipment to the first responders of the Department of National Defense and the Philippine National Police. The Basilica Minore del Santo Niño in Cebu City now allows devotees aged 15 to 65 years old inside the church's premises as part of its relaxed anti-COVID-19 measures. The Augustinian friars who run the centuries-old Minor Basilica said that the adjustment of the age limit was in response to the easing of restrictions ordered by the Interagency Task Force. Visitors are still reminded to follow the health protocols and safety measures implemented by the Basilica. In the relaxed IATF guidelines, churches in areas under modified general community quarantine are permitted to accommodate churchgoers up to 75% of their capacity. Mayor Edgardo Labella is expected to issue a new executive order adopting the IATF's easing of rules, particularly on relaxed age restrictions. Authorities believe that the PBA referee initially tested positive for COVID-19 in a recent swab test could actually be a false positive case. In a joint statement from the Philippine Basketball Association, Basis Conversion Development Authority, and the Clark Development Corporation, the game official yielded a negative result in an antigen testing conducted on Wednesday. On the other hand, the statement clarified that everyone has been strictly adhering to the protocols set for the ongoing bubble in Angeles, Pampanga. Meanwhile, former Pampanga Vice Governor Yang Guiao lauded the PBA, CDC, and BCDA on the conduct of the season bubble despite the suspected COVID-19 case. Guiao also commended the quick response on the suspected COVID-19 case. The National Historical Commission of the Philippines, or NHCP, is encouraging local government units and non-government organizations to include tree planting in their respective activities for the 2021 quincentennial commemorations in the Philippines. Aside from providing ecological benefits for future generations, NHCP Chairperson Dr. Rene Escalante said trees beautify surroundings. Escalante expects LGUs nationwide to spearhead their respective ceremonies on April 27 next year, when the country will commemorate the 500th anniversary of Philippine warrior Lapu-Lapu's battle and victory against foreign intervention on Mactan Island. The 2021 QCP will also commemorate the 500th anniversary of the Philippines' involvement in marine navigation. This refers to the arrival of Ferdinand Magellan in the Philippines and other historic events from 1519 to 1522 in different localities and in other countries where Magellan's voyage made landfall. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. The Land Transportation Office extends the validity of driver's license. Meanwhile, PAG-IBIG also offers payment relief on home loan. The Department of Justice looks into the agreement between Philhealth and Red Cross. And the referee in PBA bubble falls positive for COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.